Hello and welcome to Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai and I can come to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu to chair newly approved Presidential Council on Industry. Governor Eno approves release of additional 1.6 billion naira for retired teachers, local government workers and state civil servants. Plus, President Joe Biden to visit Israel as Gaza ground offensive looms. We will bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. To begin the news this afternoon, the national scene says the Federal Executive Council FEC approving the establishment of the Presidential Council on Industrial Revitalization Roadmap, which will be chaired by President Bola Tinubu and comprise 10 subcommittees. This was disclosed by the Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment, Doris Uzoka Anite. Uzoka Anite spoke at the end of the FEC meeting, explaining that the subcommittees will deliberate on various policies within different ministries and the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. According to the minister, the ministry have a plethora of policies, frameworks and guidelines aimed at reinvigorating industries across the diverse ministries and agencies. Meanwhile, the Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, says the Federal Executive Council FEC has okayed the federal government to access $1.5 billion World Bank's budget support loan. Edwin said the facility, which would be provided by the International Development Association IDA, a financing arm of the World Bank, is a low-interest instrument and it is meant for the revival of the nation's economy. According to him, FEC also approved $18 million in financing from the African Development Bank AFDB for the Ekiti Knowledge Zone Project EKZ and 30 days for the implementation of the government organized labor's agreement on petrol subsidy removal palliatives. He explained that the AFDB $80 million facility for the EKZ project is aimed at helping young people having better insight into a knowledge-based economy, technology and communications.
Things are tough. Mr. President is aware, and that is why he has the intervention package, 500 billion naira, as well as other measures, including a wage award and later on a new wage structure for the country. So I think that answers all the questions about the 1.5 billion, why and how soon, and use of proceeds. It goes straight into the balance of payments, goes straight into the reserves to support the effort to...
In the meantime, the Federal Executive Council FEC has proposed 26.01 trillion naira for the 2024 fiscal year for submission to the National Assembly. This is according to the Minister of Budget and Planning, Atiku Bagudu, who spoke after the council meeting presided over by President Tinubu. According to him, FEC pegged the price of crude oil at $73.96, exchange rate of $700, and oil production of 1.78 million barrels per day. During the briefing at the council chamber, Bagudu said the government is working to ensure a January to December budget cycle. He said the executive will put efforts in place to ensure the 2024 budget is passed and signed before December 2024. Bagudu also noted that FEC approved the 2024 to 2026 medium-term expenditure framework MTEF and fiscal strategy papers FSP.
The assumptions include include oil price benchmark, which I said for 2024, we are assuming 73.96, oil production of 1.78 million barrels a day, exchange rate of 700, then the inflation of 21% and GDP growth rate of 3.76%. The aggregate expenditure is estimated at 26.01 trillion naira for the 2024. A supplementary budget because, of course, there are continuing obligations and there are responses to security which can be immediate. So Mr. President is mindful of those and is assessing them. But Mr. President is also committed to the budget process and its integrity. So
Away from that, the federal government has announced its readiness to commence the payment of 9 months backlogs to Empower beneficiaries who are on the program beginning from November. The Empower National Program Manager Akindele Ebuawalo disclosed this during a meeting with some Empower beneficiaries at his office in Abuja. Ebuawalo, in a statement issued by the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, stated that the main purpose for the temporary suspension of the program was to address all matters directly affecting beneficiaries. He said the Empower program would be continued as the Renewed Hope Job Creation Program under the supervision of the Humanitarian Minister. Meanwhile, the federal government has handed a 30-day ultimatum to the United Nations and other international agencies in Nigeria, within which they should give a detailed account of how funds from donor agencies have been spent over the years. The federal government threatened that should the United Nations and the international agencies refuse to give an account of the expenditure, a court order will compel them to do so. The Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy, issued the threat during a press conference, noting that the 30-day ultimatum starting from October 16 to November 15 had been given to the organizations. Failure to which the ministry would proceed to court. She also raised concern over the misuse of $100 million that was earmarked for a World Bank-sponsored project meant to bring in women, encourage them in business, empower them, particularly in the field of agriculture, and give little capital as well as teach them on how to save. In the meantime, the federal government has said that power consumers paid a total of 267.86 billion naira as electricity bills in the second quarter of this year. It disclosed this in the just released second quarter 2023 report of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, while explaining the collection efficiency of power distribution companies during the review period. It said the total revenue collected by all discourse in 2022 quarter 2 was 267.86 million naira out of 354.61 billion naira billed to customers. This translates to a collection efficiency of 75.54%, which represents an increase of 6.79 pp basis points when compared to 2023 quarter 1 at 68.75%. From the Red Chambers, Senate President Godswill Akpabio has distanced himself from the sack of Adamawa North Senator Elisha Abofor by the Court of Appeal. Akpabio said, contrary to Abo's claim, he has no reason to withhold the sacked lawmaker. He disclosed this while speaking through his media aide, Eseme Yibo. Recall that Abo had accused Akpabio of being responsible for his removal, saying that 4 other senators who worked against the emergence of Akpabio as Senate President had been penciled down to be sacked. Reacting, Akpabio accused Abo of looking for a pesty. Meanwhile, the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, United States of America, USA, has called on the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, to resign over his alleged lackluster handling of the affairs of the upper chamber. The coalition claimed that Akpabio, who was planted as the Senate President by President Tinubu, has completely subjugated his colleagues under the executive and eroded the independence and integrity of the legislature in Nigeria. The executive director of NADECO USA, Lloyd Ukwu, in a statement accused Akpabio of showing absolute disdain for the standing rules of the Senate as regards the order of proceedings, vibrant debates during plenary, and thorough scrutiny of executive communications and bills. Ukwu insisted that should Akpabio fail to resign or senators fail to impeach him, NADECO USA would have no option than to mobilize its members in the United States and Nigerians in diaspora for a mass action to ensure that he vacates office. Moving now to electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says its results viewing portal is to enhance election transparency and not a results collation or transmission system. The INEC Director of ICT, Paul Omokore, gave the clarification in his presentation titled "The Role of Beavers, IREF for Bayelsa, Kogi and Imo governorship elections" at a two-day capacity workshop for journalists in Akwanga, Nasarawa State. Omokore advised journalists and members of the public not to confuse uploading polling units results to the INEC result viewing portal with the electronic transmission of results. He added that the INEC bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, is only used to upload pictures of polling units results on Form EC8A to IREF, which does not translate to electronic transmission of results. Back here on the home front, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Omoino, in line with his promise to continue to pay down the arrears of retired workers, has approved the prompt release of an additional 1.6 billion naira. The amount is designed to continue to pay down the arrears of gratuities of retired primary school teachers, local government workers and civil servants in the state. In a release statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Ekereto Udo, Pastor Omoino is determined to keep to the promise he made to the state organized labor during their one-day national protest march to regularly set aside funds to continue the payment of gratuities. According to Ekerete, the Governor had previously released 3 billion naira for the same purpose, bringing the total amount so far released for the purpose to 4.6 billion naira. Moving now to Africa, where South Sudan's President Salva Kiir says he will host representatives of Sudanese political leaders in the capital, Juba, in a bid to end the brutal 6-month conflict. A statement from Kiir's press unit says the meeting will take place next week. According to the statements, the Sudan's leaders will review the Juba peace agreement signed in 2020 between the then transitional government and rebel factions while seeking a way to resolve the current crisis. Recall that Kiir appealed to the military and political leaders in Sudan to end the ongoing conflict through peaceful dialogue. Still in Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo's Transport Minister Mark Ikila has said that 47 bodies have been recovered from the Congo River as search and rescue efforts continue following the boat disaster. Ikila said the boat accident was caused by overloading and sailing at night, which are prohibited by regulations. He said an investigation was underway and those responsible for the capsizing would be held to account. On the foreign scene, President Joe Biden will make a landmark trip to Israel on Wednesday, a show of ironclad support as Washington tries to prevent the escalating war in Gaza from spilling over into regional conflict. The trip comes just days after Gaza-based Hamas fighters broke through Israel's heavily fortified border, allegedly shooting, stabbing and burning to death more than 1,400 people. The Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, said Biden's visit would be a statement of solidarity with Israel and an ironclad commitment to security.
On Wednesday, President Biden will visit Israel. He's coming here at a critical moment for Israel, for the region, and for the world. And he's coming here to do the following. First, the President will reaffirm the United States' solidarity with Israel and our ironclad commitment to its security. President Biden will again make clear, as he's done unequivocally since Hamas's slaughter of more than 1,400 people, including at least 30 Americans, that Israel has the right and indeed the duty to defend its people from Hamas and other terrorists and to prevent future attacks. The President will hear from Israel what it needs to defend its people as we continue to work with Congress to meet those.
Still on the foreign scene, Israeli troops have reportedly killed 4 militants attempting to infiltrate from Lebanon as tensions run high along the border between the two countries. The army said in a statement disclosed that observation troops spotted a terrorist squad attempting to infiltrate the security fence with Lebanon and plant an explosive device. Earlier, the military said it had targeted Lebanon's Iran-backed Hezbollah group with overnight airstrikes on southern Lebanon. Still to come in the news. NNL lists 17 stadia for inspection ahead of new season. Stay with us for details of this and more after the break.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news stories. On our business news, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has granted approval for Paralex Bank to collect Nigeria Export Supervision Scheme (NESFIE). The approval was given in a circular signed by Dr. W.J. Kanya on behalf of the Director of the Trade and Exchange Department at the Apex Bank. Dr. Kanya noted that the approval was granted under the auspices of the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Wale Edun, and called upon all authorized dealers and service providers to take note of the significant development. NESFIE is reportedly a mandatory payment to the federal government for all legitimate goods exported from Nigeria, encompassing both non-oil and oil-based products. Still in business, the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) has disclosed that subsidy removal and naira devaluation pushed food inflation to 30.64% in September, worsening inflationary pressure in the country. According to the NBS, the prices of food caused the Consumer Price Index to surge to 26.72% in September, stressing that this showed 0.92 percentage point increase from the 25.80% recorded in August. Despite the increase in inflation rate, the NBS claimed that the rate of increase in the average price level in September was less than the rate of increase in the average price level in August of 2023. On our health news, the President, Nigeria Optometric Association, Dr. Chimeziri Anderson, said that routine blood pressure and fasting blood sugar tests play a critical role in ensuring comprehensive eye health care. The community eye health epidemiologist said it was necessary to ensure that those tests were integrated into primary care services covered by the health maintenance organizations. This, he said, would make them accessible and affordable. He therefore advised Nigerians to go for regular eye checkups, practice eye safety, live healthy lifestyles, and spread awareness of the importance of eye health. Still in health, a consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Olufunmilayo Akinola, has expressed concern over the rising prevalence of mental illness among young Nigerians across the country. She noted that most mental disorders are insidious, stressing that they start from adolescents around the age of 15. While speaking at an event organized by the federal government, Neuropsychiatric Hospital FNPH Yaba, Lagos State, the psychiatrist lamented that 1 in every 8 persons globally lives with mental disorders. Moving now to sports, where the Nigerian National League (NNL) has penciled down 17 stadia for inspection ahead of the 2023-2024 season. The kickoff date is scheduled for October 28th. The Chief Operating Officer of the league, Dr. Ayo Abdulrahman, has said that any of the facilities that fall short of required standard will not host league matches. Dr. Abdulrahman urged the facility inspectors to focus on the playing pitches of the stadiums, changing rooms, perimeter fencing, media tribune, and others. He added that a special facility inspectors and compliant officers have been assigned to carry out thorough inspection of the facilities. Still in sports, the Euro 2024 qualifying fixture between Belgium and Sweden was reportedly abandoned after a gunman shot 2 fans dead before kickoff. Reports say the game was being played about 5 kilometers from the shooting in Brussels and over 35,000 fans were in attendance. Meanwhile, Eric Van, spokesperson for the Federal Prosecutor's Office, has told reporters that the investigation was centering on a possible terrorist motivation for the shooting. On our entertainment news, Nigerian singers Rema and CK are set to perform at the Hey Neighbor Music Festival in Pretoria in December 2023. The duo are part of a stellar lineup of musicians that will thrill festival goers at the 3-day jamboree. The Hey Neighbor Music Festival will take place between the 8th and 10th of December 2023. Meanwhile, other global stars expected to join Rema and CK at the event include American artist Kendrick Lamar, the Chainsmokers, Ha, and Khalid, amongst others. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do well to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTv.ng. This has been Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai Aniek, and thanks for watching, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon.